Hello beautiful, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bettina and I'm the makeup enthusiast. I'm here today to give you a very long overdue update on my Pan That palette series for this year. Traditionally, I like to rotate in 2 new palettes every quarter. I haven't done that since the second quarter, so I've been incredibly lazy and slack with keeping you guys updated and rotating through my face palette collection. But the 2 palettes that I introduced at the first quarter, I've still been working on. So if you do want to see my progress on those 2 palettes over the last 8 months, stay tuned. But before we get into the video, if you are new around here, make sure you're subscribed down below so you can keep up to date on all my Project Pans and all my Project Pan updates. And without further ado, let's jump on into it. I've been working on the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Sculpted Edit palette and the Charlotte Tilbury Nudegasm face palette on and off since April. I think, yeah, April. April's when I rolled these in. So I decided to focus on, normally my theme is something old, something new. I decided for the first quarter to focus on 2 old palettes. It was 2 old palettes, wasn't it? And then for the second quarter, I rotated in 2 new palettes and I've been working on them ever since. Oops. So I have some fantastic progress on both of these. I'm kind of annoyed that I haven't been updating you on these throughout the year, but it is what it is. I'm here to show you the progress, the pans, the gloriousness. Charlotte Tilbury Nudegasm palette. I have photos of these from when they were introduced. 3 of the 4 pans I haven't made that great a progress on, but one of them I have hit pan on them. I have hit pan on the blush. This blush right here in the center, you can see that nice pan. You can see the grid coming through as well. I think if I focused on this one a little bit more, that pan will expand like crazy. The logo on this one here has worn down quite a lot. These 2 here, I haven't been using them all that much. I do love this highlighter, but I find for my skin tone, I only need quite a small amount of the Charlotte Tilbury highlighters. Otherwise, I just find them too intense. I find that you only need a small amount of them to make them beaming. So you can see there's a little bit of wear in the middle there, but I haven't managed to wear off any of the wording on either of these 2 on the side. But I'm extremely happy to see some really good use and damage on this pan here, and I've hit pan in the middle as well. So I really like this multi-glow powder or blush. In the thing it says multi-glow. I think it's the multi-glow blush or something like that. It's beautiful as a blush. It's a really glowy, healthy lit from within blush. Looks absolutely beautiful on the skin. You do need to be careful sometimes what you pair it with eyeshadow wise. Sometimes it does clash a little bit, but for the most part, I find it really effortless and it's so beautiful on the skin. So I'm very happy with this palette. I'm very happy that I've got some good use on the palette. I would like to see more progress on the rest of the palette, but that blush, it's so good. So, so good. Moving on to the Hourglass Sculpture palette. Are you ready? Are you ready for this palette? Maybe I can show on the screen now what this palette looked like before, and then let's do a little transition fade to what it looks like now. I have managed to use up 3 pans. I think when I introduced this in, I definitely had pan on Mood Exposure, and I think I had a little bit of pan on the bronzer, which is Bronze Light. That was sitting here, and I was working towards, I was starting to wear this one. So I was mixing these together. I would combine them. And then the blush, Mood Exposure, is my favorite Hourglass blush. It's so beautiful. I love it, and it goes so well with so many different looks for me. I find Mood Exposure just a really easy, effortless blush, and that's why I managed to get through it so easily. These two worked really well as a bronzer, and when I mixed them together, they looked really great as a bronzer. When I used them individually, they also looked really great as a bronzer. The one at the top was Dim Light. So I used up Dim Light as a bronzer. They say it's a finishing powder, but I find for my really pale skin, I can actually use it as a bronzer, and then I used up the bronzer as well. I was mixing them together when I was using this like heavily. When I was using this all the time, I was mixing those two together. So I still have 3 left in here. So I have Diffuse Light, which is this finishing powder. I've got this strobe powder, Glistening Strobe Light, and the blush is Vibrant Flush. So I think going into next year, at some point in my Pan That palette next year, I would like to rotate this one in at some point, and I want to try and hit pan, or at least use up at least another one, just like one pan I think in here, and then maybe the following year or later in next year, like the second half of next year, I might try and use up the rest of the palette. They're all like height wise. I think this one at the end, the Strobe Light, is probably the one that has the least amount of progress on it. It probably goes the Strobe Light with the least, then the blush, and then the finishing powder. So I definitely think that I could make some more damage on this palette next year. Maybe have it finished. I don't know whether I want to dedicate like a whole nother year on this palette, because I think in reality that's probably how long it will take me to get it finished, those 3 products. So I don't know whether I'm ready to dedicate like a whole nother entire year or most of the year on this palette. I think that I'm happy to dedicate maybe a couple of months at a time on just like one of the pans, but I don't think I want to focus on the whole palette. I might change my mind next year. I might get like really narrow focus and be like, I want to get this palette completely finished, which for me does happen sometimes. So those are my 2 Pan Those palettes that I've been working on forever this year. That's the progress I made on them. I am going to finalize this project for this year now. I'm not going to rotate or focus on anything else for now. I'm going to take my time between now and the end of the year to use my blushes that are in my Team Project pan and have a little play around in my collection to see what I want to focus on for next year. Grab out some of my other face palettes that I have been neglecting as well, and just have a play around with them as well. Just decide my plan of attack for face palettes and complexion products for next year. So that's my Pan That palette finale for 2023. Let me know if you have either of these palettes. Let me know whether you have any pans on any of them, and if you have managed to hit pan on any of your other face palettes this year. Let me know down in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new around here and you want to keep up to date on any of my other content, make sure you're subscribed down below. I will leave some videos on the screen now for you to continue watching some of my content if that interests you at all. I hope that you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, beautiful.